All right, we are live. I'm Becky Norwood with Spotlight Publishing. This is Susan Sweet. She is the author of the book Heroes in Our Midst, inspirational stories, faith stories for single moms. Susan, what is it like to be able to um, work with these moms, to get these stories to be put in the printed page? It's one thing to tell a story, another one to get the words down on paper and really convey the thoughts that really need to be transmitted or shared. So what was that like for you?
Absolutely. I was very touched that Chris asked me to be a part of the project. I've been a part of Helping Hands for a while, maybe 10 plus years.
Wow.
So I was familiar with the program, with just hearing different life stories throughout years of involvement of various moms and the challenges they faced, the circumstances that brought them to being a single mom and to needing support and appreciating the help from the scholarship program. And so, when it came around time to get involved with this project and conduct these interviews, I every single time just blown away and touched. These women are incredible, every single one of them. Their stories couldn't be more different from the next, but what incredible strength they each have, and just overcoming so much to forge ahead and to create a whole different storyline for themselves and their kids.
And for their kids more so than anything.
Absolutely.
Right. You've done an amazing job of being able to showcase those stories and to bring them to life. What was the single, maybe one, I'm sure there was many, but one that stands out in your mind more than any of the others? And it's no comparison. I'm just meaning something that just touched you deeply.
Every single one did in a different way. I really found Michelle Weil's story interesting. Michelle was a delight to interview. I could have listened to her all day long. She just has such an effervescent personality. Hearing her story, as you read her chapter, you have to understand her mom's story. And that was so important to her to share her mom's story as well in the interview. Her mom growing up in a family of achievers, going into the military as a woman, decades ago when it wasn't that common, and then coming out of that and dealing with her own issues, starting her family life for her two daughters in the Bronx and the projects in New York, and just always the keeping a positive attitude, rising above her circumstances, never letting the kind of the facts surrounding her weigh her down, but her optimism impacted Michelle so greatly. And I just heard in Michelle's story what a tremendous foundation her single mom gave her. Mm-hmm. And then, Michelle had her own story of incredible strength and success. So that's one that was just seeing the multi-generational impact of we as moms have just such a great opportunity to take the things that come at us, the things that come at our kids, and it has a lot to do with, I don't want to say how we spin it, but what our outlook is. That's what our kids are going to take
Absolutely.
Away from that.
Yeah. So, as moms, we all carry such a vital role in how our children really relate to the world because typically it takes mom and dad both. That's not what I'm saying, but it is the mother that is usually the caregiver and the molder and it's in a very special way. And a lot of times, some of these young girls didn't have that mom role model, and Michelle did in her story. And yet, as they pick up the pieces and as they've been able to tap into the resources through Helping Hands from single moms, what has struck me, because I've got to meet a lot of the girls, and what has struck me about that is once they get to the place where they're succeeding and they're doing very well, that they're giving back in amazing ways. That they're showing by example to even their children that it's about the giving and how we make an impact in the world in that way. So Absolutely. Beautiful. Yeah. So in this journey for writing this story, I know that you interviewed each one. What was that process like? How did that, transpire? How did it get started? What was the impact as far as hearing these stories? What was that? What difference did that make for you?
Sure. We started off, I think we did maybe one of them live. I mean, we met in a coffee shop and started the interview process as in-person. Challenge was as we started to get into this, some of our current pandemic situation impacted the ability to get together. But even before that, we found that we decided to do them as Zoom calls, which was tremendously helpful. Just making it easy, because these moms, even though they're graduated now, they're going full bore in their careers. Time is
working hard.
Some of them are still going on to continue, master's degrees and so forth. So plus they have children that they're raising. So we were just appreciative to get any time with them that we could to do these interviews. They just, each one was just so touching, so impactful. My continual, I have a deep Christian faith, and something that was important to me was to just to do justice to these women's stories. I mean, these were their lives. These are their lives. It's not just a fictional scenario that makes for good storytelling. These are the lives that each of these women led, and the real difficulties and hardships that they worked so hard to overcome. So I really wanted to let their words come through. I quoted, bits and pieces as much as I could to keep the story going, but I really wanted to let their stories. My role was just to facilitate bringing their stories to the written word for others to be inspired. And I just didn't want to get in the way of anything, any part of their story that was important or imperative. I wanted to make sure it did justice to their journey.
And you did an excellent job of it. So, so amazing what you've been able to do is to, kind of bring that written word in a powerful way. So that leads me to a different question. It's not so much a part of this story, but it all relates. And if you think about it, the power of story and how important our stories are in today's world. And I know you saw the impact with these girls, but in your life experience, how valuable and how important is storytelling in our world today?
Oh, I think for me, I've always been an avid reader. I even in something as silly as watching sports with my husband, if he'll tell me something about the coach or a player in particular, I'm in. I think, it helps us to get outside of ourselves and our own, worries, struggles, and I think the written word is just, it's not only it can be a form of escape, it can be a form of encouragement, of education. It just helps us to grow and expand our understanding of anyone outside of ourselves. And I really appreciate a well-written book, article,
Absolutely.
anything. I definitely connect with authors and just appreciate the work that they do, and their ability to engage and pull you in, and give you another perspective that is something that you otherwise wouldn't have that life experience.
No, you wouldn't. I recently, I'm preparing a course because I work with authors all the time. And the course is called The Four Pillars of a Story Well Told. And in this course, I talk about advocacy, because these moms, by the telling of their stories, have become advocates for other single moms, showing the light, so there's so many things. So there's advocate, way shower, unifier, and truth teller. And all of those are part of the fiber of a story well told, and what you stand for when you're able to tell a story. And one of the things that I've observed, before COVID started, if you went out to eat a lot, you could observe complete families sitting around the table with their devices and not talking, and I've always watched that. And I was doing a presentation one time for a group on the power of storytelling, and in preparation for it, I started researching, and there are many, many groups of people that are concerned about not the lack of storytelling, the lack of passing on from generation to generation, not even in families, but yes, starting in the family and expanding it on, because it's by the power of story that we're able to connect and reach hearts and make a difference and give hope and truly, like you say, give that extra perspective. And so it's been, I get the privilege of getting to read many different kinds of stories and work with authors bringing many stories to the world. But it's that art of storytelling that is the fiber that makes the difference to help shape a world that all of us want to live in.
Absolutely. I've been impacted by great storytellers time and time again, whether it's understanding history, some aspect of why we're here, where we came from, why we think the way we do, why our culture is set up the way it is, or whether it's understanding a time period that maybe a parent or grandparent went through that, I didn't live that. It helps me to understand. My father's even started writing some of his memoirs, just as his life has kind of quieted down a little bit in the current pandemic. And that's been exciting for our family to get to read his stories of just little glimpses of what life was like in military service during, Vietnam War and things like that. And it gives us a new perspective on just what makes up his life experience. So
what makes him tick, really, and what they've had to go through just to be who they are today, and to be the kind of dad that he is to you, to just the husband that he is, everything. It's these stories that actually show the way for others, and generationally, I think it's really important that we share these stories.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. I just recently, one of the other broadcasts I mentioned, there's a series on PBS called Finding Your Roots. And it's wonderfully done. And there's quite a few people they've interviewed, but it is so fascinating to me that most people have no idea what their past history is as far as generations. Many of them past their parents, let alone past their grandparents. And they were, because of the technology that we have today, because of the DNA work and all of that, they've been able to trace many people's generations way back. And it's fascinating. It is truly fascinating to really start to understand where we come from. But that's why I think that the importance of us as parents and grandparents is to share those stories with our children, because how else are they going to have a feel for how they got here and what life is truly about, and maybe be able to be guided in the right way, to
Absolutely.
succeed.
A strong impact. And I think, maybe for me, I grew up at a time where we didn't have, more than 3 television channels, and certainly had to go walk into a room to use the telephone.
You didn't text to your kid in the next room?
No. So I did grow up around grandparents and extended family, and I did have the privilege of getting to hear the stories of a life that was so different from, even the 60s, 70s, 80s, of what life was like for them, and then for their parents. And I feel that our kids, that's the challenge for ongoing generations, is to stop long enough to listen to those stories that we pass along, and that they wouldn't be so distracted by the here and now and the immediate, to really appreciate the journeys that we all have been on. There's something to take away from everybody's story. And I think that is, I hope that doesn't get lost in our current and future generation.
I think there's a lot of people realizing that this is so important. And I think COVID has had a little bit of something to do with that. It's made I think it's, in some respects, it's been a wake-up call, to stop and wait a minute, pay attention to what you're doing and saying. And now families have had to spend a lot more time together, where everybody was going different directions, and it's made a lot of changes. And it is all what we choose to make of it,
Absolutely.
And how we choose to handle it. Well, Susan, thank you for this beautiful interview and for all the work that you did to bring this book magnificently to the world. Heroes in Our Midst. I'm trying to get it. And if you're listening to this or will be listening to this, be sure and pick up a copy of this amazing book and read these stories, and your life will be so touched by the stories of these amazing women. And our hats are off to the organization Helping Hands for Single Moms, and for the role that so many have played. This book is not just a single effort. It's a lot of work that went into from many different aspects. And even the interviews today have been so amazing and touching, because there's so many that play, whether they're offering car services or dental work or all the other multitude of things these young women need and are willing, that are provided for them as they are willing to step up and meet the challenges. And so there's so much more than meets the eye than just that individual little level.
Absolutely. And that is something, just in parting, that it's easy to be very supportive of Helping Hands for Single Moms, because they do offer so much more than tuition help. It's the whole, coming alongside that woman that's already going back to school, already making those grades and putting in the hard work. And it's that extra support that comes alongside her and helps her to finish strong. And it's been a wonderful organization, very easy to get behind. And boy, the lives that are changed are just, it's real. It's incredible. Working. It is making a tremendous impact in so many people's lives. So
awesome.
Thank
Very
you.
Good. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you for all of you, everything you did to get this book.
There's been a lot of moving parts. All right. Take care and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.